Okay, so it's late. I'm bored. I'm up past my bedtime. I got nothing better to do. It's not a movie. It's not a video game. I want to talk about a book this time. Stephen King, his latest, Full Dark, No Stars. Um, Stephen King over the last, I guess, 20 years since the early 90s. I think he's been really hit or miss, especially since his accident back in, I think it was 99 or 2000. But I think within the last decade, yeah, he's done some of his worst stuff, but he's also here and there done some of his best stuff. Most of it being short fiction, short stories, um, novellas. The shorter Stephen King goes, in my opinion, the better his work gets. Even and this goes back to the '80s when he did stuff like Shawshank Redemption, The Body, stuff like that. Um, but a few recommendations, like recent ones, I will say that I think are must reads are Just After Sunset, another short story collection, and Everything's Eventual, which I think is his best short story collection. This one is one of those ones where it's short stories, yes, and you can see it's kind of a slim book, but they're more like novellas. They're like 100 pages long for the most part. Kind of like Hearts in Atlantis, which I also very highly recommend. Where does this one rank? Well, we'll get to that. There's four stories in this. It's hardcover, including afterword and everything. 368 pages long. Um, I think the same is true. That my overall point is true of this. Is just the shorter the better. The shorter stories in this are better. There's four, like I said, four stories. Two of them are so-so. Two are pretty amazing. So let me just flip it over here and see what we had with this one. It starts off with a story called 1922. It's a first-person confession from this rural, like, farmer guy who he killed his wife over some land that she inherited, and he didn't want her selling it. Not to give too much away, but he didn't want her selling it away. He wanted to keep it, and he drags his son into it. It sounds pretty interesting, right? And it's like a Depression era story, so it's like historic relevance. Interesting premise. It was probably not probably. It was my least favorite story of the bunch. It goes on for too long. It goes on for about 130 pages. Most of it's kind of a bore, and it doesn't really go too many places. It's wanting to evoke all this Depression era stuff, and it goes for a little bit of Bonnie Clyde here and there, a little bit of a gothic tale, and um, I just didn't I didn't care for it. Uh, it just didn't go too many places, and in the end, it was just not that great. Um, Before I go further, I guess if there's um, like a theme that draws all these stories together, like a common theme, I think it's like the dark side of human nature, uh, which I'm sure is a big surprise coming, seeing that it's from Stephen King. Uh, but no, he really does go. He goes go for the fences on this like, in terms of the dark subject matter, and it's human subject matter. It's mature. It's adult. It's not supernatural. In fact, the only one where you'll get any sort of supernatural stuff is that first one, 1922, and even that, I would argue, not really supernatural. It's all human. Uh, so that's like the thing that kind of ties it all together. Most of the stories center around marriage, such as the first one, 1922. Um, well, I guess maybe that's not fair, but it's just the dark side of people. Big Driver is the second story. this one is it's the other one I didn't like so much. Uh, it's just basically this lady who she writes women mystery books, and she's on her way back from a book signing, and she hits some like two by fours out on the road that had nails in them. She you know wrecks her tires, has to pull over, and a big truck driver guy comes to help her, but he's not there to help her. He's there to rape her, and it's a fairly unpleasant story. Um, that is basically turns into like this revenge type deal, like very basic kind of revenge story. That it's well written. It's just kind of unpleasant and not anything too new, not anything that you haven't seen already or read already. It was exciting near the end when the revenge is happening, but leading up to it, it's kind of a long, kind of unpleasant beginning with this girl getting raped and nearly killed, and eh, I could take it or leave it. I thought it moved along better than 1922, and I liked it more than 1922, the opening story, but neither of the two first stories are very good. Fortunately, the last two stories in the book I think are worth the 20 something bucks or whatever you pay to read this, or if it's available on audio, get it on audio. The third story is Fair Extension. It's easily the shortest one in the book. It's roughly like uh, let's see, it goes from 247 to 281. So you're talking like I'm not good at my math here, but you're talking like less than 40 pages. Uh, not you know not my favorite story in the book, but a very damn good one. It's basically a Faustian tale. This guy has cancer. He uh, he runs into like this weird like roadside little shop near the airport, like a road that doesn't get a lot of traffic, and basically he runs into the devil. I think the guy's name is Elvid, which is was that an anagram or whatever for the devil? Who he has a little shop with a little like thing that says Fair Extensions, and he offers extensions, life extensions, dick extensions, love extensions, whatever extensions you need. And our main character in this, he needs a life extension because he's got terminal cancer. And so the devil says, "Okay, I'll give you that, but you have to pass on your bad luck to someone else, and it can't be anyone else. It has to be someone you hate." And the main character, is thinking about it. He's like, and Elvid, the devil's like, "Is there anyone that you hate?" And he's thinks about it. He's like, "Yeah, my best friend since grade school." Very interesting. I love that premise. I mean, the whole Faust tale of like the devil, giving you something, but you're gonna pay for it in the long run. I love that, and this is just a nice spin on it. Really cool spin on it. I like the way it plays out after that. And I like the idea that this guy has had a friend since grade school who has always just been luckier than him, more popular with women than him and stuff like that, and he hates him for it. I mean, that's just that's really good. I think that story is well worth reading. It's really short. This is a story you read in one sitting. But my favorite one is the story that closes the book. It's a little longer. It's this one is like 80 pages. Still fairly short. You could read it pretty quickly. I think I read it within one night because I was blown away by it. Basically, it's this couple. They've been married for decades, and the husband's away on a business trip. Wife goes into the garage, notices a box, looks in the box, discovers that her husband has a dark secret, and spoilers, he's a serial killer. And the way that plays out, I don't want to spoil it too much, but I mean, I love telling people about this story. The way it plays out is just brilliant. Not to give too much away, but he does come back home and he notices right away something's different. and he confesses to her, and they try to live with it. The you know the couple tries to live with it in the story. But yeah, A Good Marriage. I think it's one of his best short stories. Um, just a great idea that this wife would find out her husband is a serial killer and deciding what to do about it, which is, I'm sure, something that's happened before. Stephen King says he was inspired by the BTK killer, and I get there's a lot of these serial killers where they look normal on the outside, and some of them do have families, which BTK killer did. I think I'm not an expert on it, but I think he did. But it's just the way that story plays out. It's just a great short story built upon a great premise. And for the final two stories alone, this book is worth it to me. Um, Definitely, I mean, if you're not a fan of Stephen King, if you haven't read him in a while, or if you want to get into him, I say start with his short fiction because it's great, and this is a good one to start with. Or like I said, Everything's Eventual, especially Everything's Eventual, or Just After Sunset. Great stuff in there. But even just check this one out from the library if you can, and read the last two stories. First two you could do with or without, but Fair Extension and especially a Good Marriage. Good Marriage in and of itself, well worth the read. It's only 80 pages long. I think that alone, like if I was gonna rate the book, that would bump it up to 3 out of 5 stars. I really hope that Stephen King has a few short story collections left in him because I think that's his best stuff. Like I said, like I didn't say, but the book I read before this book was another Stephen King book. It was Under the Dome. It was over 1,000 pages long, and it was pretty damn dull and disappointing. Um, and before I go, I'll just say I'm bored. So with that, before I go, I'll show you the book I'm reading right now, which I will probably talk about after I'm done. My dad and my stepmom, they borrowed it to me, and they both highly recommended it, and I enjoy it so far. I don't think it's really great so far, but it's well written and it's pretty like demented and bizarre and interesting. It's called A Very Simple Crime by Grant Jerkins. I'll probably talk about that when I'm done. But yeah, anyways, that was my first book discussion. Like I said, Full Dark, No Stars by Stephen King. Recommended for Fair Extension and especially for A Good Marriage. I love A Good Marriage. I think it's a great short story. That story alone, 5 out of 5. So, anyways, if you read the book, let me know what you think. If you have your own personal Stephen King favorites, let me know what they are, or just any recommendations in general. I do like to read, so uh, let me know. All right, laters.